Hey everybody, my name is Heather and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing my last 4 reads. 2 of those were recommended by Princess over at Castle Library in her video recommending short reads if you want to get those numbers up on your Goodreads challenge before the end of the year. So the first one that I read that she recommended was A Song for the Wild Built, and the second one that I read that she recommended was Just Ella. I have 2 very different opinions on both of these books, so we're going to get into that. Some of them there's going to be some tea spilling, but I don't hold it against Princess at all, because I feel like when it comes to the case of Just Ella, where I'm going to get into some ranting, it may have been a situation where she read the book like 10 years ago and just didn't see the same negative things that I saw in it, so don't come at her. But I do think that if you do want to go watch the video, you might find some good recommendations, or at least some interesting reads on that list, and up them numbers for the end of the year if that's important for you. But anyway, let's get into the reviews. Timestamps down below. I'll warn you if I get into any spoilers. Let's go. Book 1. A Song for the Wild Built. I do have my handy dandy notebook to keep me on track. But this is about a non-binary tea monk who helps people through grief and a robot sent to see what humans need most. It was cool that the humans let the robots go when they told them they didn't want to work for mankind anymore, even though they benefited from their usefulness. It's like commentary on slavery. Unfortunately, the book isn't that memorable. So I liked it when I was listening to it, but at the same time, I felt like the stuff that I was getting from it was me reading into the text and not what was actually happening on the text. So I was seeing some like comparisons to slavery with them using the robots as free labor, but then the robots, you know, stood up for themselves and was like, no, I don't want to be used by you. I want to go off, have my own society, and grow on my own with my people. And then with the slavery stuff, it didn't quite happen that way because people continued to dehumanize others in order to have free labor. And we still see reflections of that in modern day society. So even though slavery has been abolished, we still see that the people on top stay on top by oppressing people at the bottom, but not giving them adequate wages in order for them to have sustainable, fulfilling lives. Just saying. But anyway, that's all I've got to say about A Song for the Wild Built. Now I'm going to get into the second book in the XX series, which is by Erin Sterling, who is also Rachel Hawkins. So if you didn't know that, now you know. So yeah, the second book in that series is The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. So I loved getting back into this world. The writing is so easy to get into. Rachel Hawkins is quickly becoming a favorite author of mine. And I feel like the XX had more plot than The Kiss, and The Kiss Curse had more romance. So if you're not really super into romance, but you liked the XX, you probably will not like The Kiss Curse, or you might feel disappointed that it doesn't have more paranormal elements. I still liked it because I really do like romance, and I like when this romance is like at the forefront of the story. But I do kind of miss a little bit of there was just so much plot things that were happening, so many twists in the first book, and in this book you only get 2 twists. So yeah, I didn't like the plot when it comes to the magical stuff as much in The Kiss Curse as I did in the XX. So it was just different ways that she kind of balanced the romance versus the plot. So that's what I've got to say about that. So Gwen and Wells remind me of the couple in her series, the Rebel Belle series. Wells dresses nerdy and talks a bit old school, and Gwen is like not like that. She's like this super cool chick. And she's like very, very quirky. So I don't necessarily think she's cool in the sense of like cheerleader type, but she's just cool as in like she's actually like just super cool. I don't really know how anyone would not like Gwen unless they just found her annoying because she is so out of the box quirky, but I like quirky characters, so I love Gwen. Anyway. So these 2 were so hot for each other, and now I'm going to get into some spoilers. So if you don't want any spoilers, go ahead and go check out them timestamps to jump over to my spicy review, my hot takes on Just Ella, which is going to be the next review. But anyway, so again, some spoilers for The Kiss Curse. I love that they only thought they were under a love spell and acted on their own desires for each other. Otherwise, the conflicts would have been them mostly questioning if their feelings were real. Instead, we get Gwen losing her power and Morgan trying to make her a blood sacrifice to gain more power. I was shocked Wells's ring was what had drained Gwen's power, and that his dad gave it to him so he'd do it unknowingly. I also liked getting to meet Bowen, and I cannot guess who he's going to be with in the third book, since he's too old for the baby witches and a bit too young for Gwen's mom. The one thing that felt lazy was the ending and how Gwen gets her powers back without a spell. I know it's trying to say no one can take your power from you, but it's still lazy. And so was the magical artifacts sucking up the bad guys. Come on. But still loved it as a romance. So yeah, I get that the whole point of that thing was that no one can take your power, and that's strong. But the fact is that this is a paranormal book. There should not be any Deus Ex Machinas or save yourself type scenarios when it comes to her literally being bound up and powerless. If she had fought her way out of it, still not having her powers, I would have liked to have seen that more than her just being like, you can't take my power from me, and then magically getting her powers back. It does make a strong message, but it doesn't make a good plot. So it's just not as fun when you just get it, because then it's like, why couldn't she have done that any time throughout the book? Like, if she could just get her powers back, why couldn't she have already done that? I don't know. So I thought it was a little lazy. And then with the villains, it's like 2 pages of them fighting, and then these magical artifacts just suck them up because they're evil. I'm like, again, a bit of a cop-out. Like, why can't you just have some killing in this book? So something like that kind of fits the paranormal stuff more. But I feel like what she's trying to do is she's trying to have these like sweet romances in the way of like, or not really sweet romances, but like cozy. Like how cozy mysteries are. So she's going for that cozy mystery feel in this paranormal small town setting, but she's upping up the spice level that you don't get in a cozy mystery. So you're getting the spice, you're getting some erotic elements in here. It does get pretty explicit, and Gwen definitely knows what she's doing. But anyway, yeah, so I just felt like the ending was a little lackluster, and there could have been more done with it. I didn't even necessarily need the second twist with Gwen getting captured and them trying to take her blood, because this felt like a really strong romance. The other stuff was extra, but then if you're not going to take the extra stuff all the way, why bother putting it in there in the first place? That's just kind of my thoughts on it. But anyway, let's get into the next book. That is going to be Just Ella, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, this was interesting, and I'm going to get spicy here with the things that I have to say. So if you're easily offended, you might not want to watch this video. Okay, are you ready for this heated spiciness? Alright, so this is a Cinderella retelling where she figures out she doesn't want to marry the prince while she undergoes princess training. The castle women are vapid and sexist against their own gender, and they are appalled that she does a servant task for herself. Servant task meaning even like pulling back her curtains in the morning so that she can see. They consider that to be beneath her as the future princess. I'm like, what? What? Oh man. Okay, so I liked the culture shock scenes, which made me like Ella, but then she kept describing women as fat and ugly, while at the same time presenting herself as unshallow because she wasn't as vain as the castle folk. This book had a lot of mixed messaging, showing that love requires more than good looks, but then tearing down others based on their looks. Additionally, the characters are one-dimensional, and there is a weird fascination that the 15-year-old girl has with wanting sexy time with her soon-to-be husband because she thinks that will bring them closer together, which is dangerous because that should not be the reason that you go into having sex. That actually that's a red flag that you're not ready for it yet. If you're like, I need to have sex with this guy so that we can fall in love, so that he will love me, that's not the way to do it, because generally, if that's the case, that's why things end up in breakups afterward, because you didn't have the foundation there to start with, where there was already a closeness there in order to facilitate the intimacy. Now, if you're older, you're out and about, you're older, you've already got some sexual experience and you want to go sow your oats with no emotions attached, you do you. But we're talking about a 15-year-old virgin here, thinking that the only way to get this prince to love her is that they can have some sexy times together. And that cannot be the only foundation for a thriving relationship. That should be the last thing in a thriving relationship. To be like, okay, we've already got to know each other. We know that we're in love with each other. Now we'll add sex. And then it can be like an addition to the romance. To me, as an asexual, and also with the same kind of ideals that demisexuals have, where I just cannot possibly separate like romantic attachment and sex. I cannot separate those. Like, they have to belong together. Otherwise, I just don't get it. That's just not the way for other people. I know that. I respect that. But that is the way that it is for me. I cannot separate the romantic feelings and stuff from sex. So to me, my thing with sex is that it should be used as an expression of love, not a way in order to achieve it. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not like offending anybody with that statement. That's just my own personal view with it, that it should be the cherry on top, not the dessert. I'm just saying. But anyway, and again, this girl was like 15 years old, and she's like, if only I could have some alone time with the prince. If only. And anyway, so yeah. Then, okay, now we get into the spoiler parts. So that was all, you're getting that stuff in like the first chapter, because this is after she's already met the prince, and he's decided that he's going to take her as the wife. Alright, so now we're going to get into the spoilers. So again, timestamps down below if you want to skip to the next book, which is going to be The Holiday Swap. Alright, so then they lock her up for refusing to marry the prince and have her guarded by a serial predator. I'll just use predator for the word, but you know what I'm talking about. Like he could escape. What? Like she could escape, but what? I don't know what I was trying to say there anyway. But they tell him that they'll let him do that to her if she escapes. So, yeah. They threaten her with sexual violence if she escapes. And they let a serial predator be her guard. I'm just like, are y'all that moronic that you think that he can't just go off and do that to the other village people and just leave her there in the cell? Like, what? It just made no sense. And then she has to like crawl through her own poop to try to get out of the cell. I don't know. I'm just like, what? Anyway, so I did think that this book was entertaining and well-paced. It did keep my interest the entire time. I also liked the secondary love interest that we get toward the end, which was her tutor. He felt like the only character that was two-dimensional. Still not necessarily a three-dimensional character, but we got 2 dimensions instead of 1. Yeah, he was the only one that really had any, like, strong motivations and things that he wanted to achieve in life, whereas the other ones were just, like, vapid airheads, and, or they were mean. And so it's just like, why? It was like the whole purpose of all the characters was to elevate Ella into being a somebody, but that didn't work because she was completely fatphobic the entire time. And it was several times. It was like 4 or 5 times that she was fatphobic. And I can understand how some people would read this and not understand that this book was so fatphobic, because the author tries to trick you. Because she'll have the character one moment describing how she like wants a guy to like her for her personality, not for her looks, which is like basically saying beauty is not everything. But then at the same time, a couple chapters later, she'll be describing people using very negative language. And she'll also be tacking on other adjectives to that language. So she's not just calling someone fat, she's also saying that they're ugly and lazy at the same time. And that's when you're saying, okay, you're no longer using fat as a descriptor, which I'm not offended by someone being called fat because it's a descriptor. And if it's accurate, it's accurate. And when you put negativity in it, what you're actually saying is, I agree that fat is a negative thing. And that's why it has a negative connotation when you're reading it. So I'm not offended by that. But when you start tacking on other adjectives like fat, ugly, lazy, slob, then I have a problem with it and you're being fat phobic. So this book was definitely highly fat phobic, and I thought maybe I'm just being a little too sensitive to that or something, because my bar for what is fat phobic is very low, so sometimes I don't even mention stuff because I understand that the author is not going to realize every little bitty microaggression that they're putting into their book, and I'm not going to call out a book for saying something like, oh no, I can't have that dessert, it'll go straight to my hips. They think they're being funny, but statements like, it'll go straight to my hips, is fat phobic. So, but I don't point those things out because it is one of those like microaggressions that most people just would not see the connection with. So I don't want to ream it. But this book was very, very explicit in its fat phobia, even though it tried to disguise itself with the mixed messaging. But yeah, to the point to where I myself, when I was listening to it, I'm like, am I misreading this? Like, what's going on here? So I had to look up other people's reviews that backed me up and were like, yeah, this was extremely fat phobic. So I am not wrong. Others agree with me. Oh, man. So that was that book. I do not recommend. I think it might have been a series where maybe they had a different fairy tale for each one. I'm not quite sure. But I do not plan on reading any further books in the series, and probably will not read from the author either, because I would just suspect that if the fat phobia was so blatant in one book, it's going to be in all of them. Might not be true, but I don't have time to give more of my life away to reading an author who has already presented those things in one book when I've got thousands of other books to choose from that might not have that issue. So that's all I'm saying, is that I don't plan on giving that author another chance. Why would I waste my time doing that? Even if they don't have that in any of their other books. Look at my bookshelves. Like, I have like 500 books to choose from that are unread. And then if I like those authors, then I'll want to read every other book that they've written. So it's like endless possibilities of books. I don't have time to revisit someone that's already disappointed me. So anyway, yeah, don't recommend. Moving on. Now we're going to go to The Holiday Swap. So this is a cute switcheroo romance where the two twin bakers switch places the week before Christmas. One is a television host up for her own show, but a concussion causes her to lose her sense of taste and smell, so she can't judge the competition, because she's like the host of a cooking competition show. So she needs her twin to be the judge for the baking show. The other runs the family bakery and just dumped her boyfriend, but he won't take no for an answer, and she's afraid she'll let him talk her into getting back together. So she needs her sister to get him off her back. So while trading places, the city girls they fall for other people. So they fall for people where they wind up going. And that's really all I can tell you. There are some like bakery hijinks that happen. There's some cooking show hijinks that happen. Some sabotage stuff. Just lots of fun. I can also say I really did like both of the love interests. I don't know that I could necessarily choose which one I would pick because I like them for very different reasons. And I think it was cool how the love interest had similarities and differences, and so did the twins. So you could see why they wound up with who they wound up with. So I really liked that whole thing, like just making them have very different personalities because they are two different people. And sometimes people just don't get that when it comes to twins, that yeah, they might look exactly the same, but they're two different people. And so you get to see a lot of their differences throughout the book. I also really liked some of the side characters. Yes, we do have antagonistic ones, but we have antagonistic ones with redeemable qualities who do get redeemed by the end of the book. And also you have some like really nice old lady, Faye. Faye is like this grandmother type. She's super sweet. She's super wise. And I just really, really liked Faye. You also get the dog and the cat. So there's Bonnie and Gateau. And so they were lots of fun to read about as well. So just lots of cute little small town romance stuff. The city had the vibe of the Gilmore Girls city. Just being like so small. People live above their shops that they own. And so they're constantly bumping into each other when they go from one place to the next. It's so small. Gossip spreads really quickly. So yeah, if you like Gilmore Girls, I think that you will like the holiday swap. But anyway, now I'm going to get into some spoilers. I'm going to tell you who the girls wind up with and how things turn out with the partners. So go ahead and go if you don't want any spoilers. That is going to be the end of this video. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know what you think down below in the comments. But now I'm going to get into the spoilers. All right, so who ends up with who? I'm not putting names here because it gets confusing because one is Cass and then the other one is Charlie. So they're both C names, and then they also swapped places, so they're pretending to be the other, so it's hard for me to even keep straight who is who. So I differentiated not by their names, but their locations. So that's what I'm going to do in this review. Anyway, where was I at? Okay, so... While trading places, the city girl falls for the small town firefighter, and the small town girl falls for the city boy practitioner's assistant. Problem is, the boys think they are who they are pretending to be. This was a simple and fun Hallmark-esque Christmas romance where in the end, the guys don't care that they've been lied to. City girl gets to produce a baking show in the family bakery with her sister and moves in with the firefighter, and she winds up getting pregnant like the next year on Christmas, and they get a second dog. So where else? All right, so Miguel gets a local job. Yeah, he gets a local job and gets to move to the small town where he proposes. So that's kind of how it ends. So one sister has been living with the firefighter. They moved in, they bought a house together, and so they got a second dog, and then she gets pregnant. And then the other sister, she had a long-term, long-distance relationship with Miguel, and then Miguel finally got a job in her hometown, so he's going to move there, and they're gonna get married. So they oh wait, no. It wasn't a proposal. I'm sorry, y'all. They literally got married. When I was reading it, I thought he was going to propose, but no, like they literally just like got married on the spot. And Faye, which is the grandmother, officiated it. So I was like, this is so cute. It is so cute. Like this is just a really sweet romance. So like if you like sweet romances, you'll like this. If you want more hanky-panky, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get any spicy in this book. So it is more of a, it feels like a slow burn romance, even though it's taking place in like 7 days. So by definition, it would be a fast-paced whirlwind romance, but the writing itself was more slow-paced. So that's kind of all I need to tell you about the holiday swap. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with friends, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!